Alright, so there's two main parts. The vestibule, which is a thin opening bound on the outside by the lips and the cheeks, and on the inside by the gums and the teeth. Okay, so if you put your finger in your mouth right here, that's your vestibule. Okay, so put your finger in this area right here, kind of down the side of your teeth, and it joins your lip and your cheek. That's what's called the vestibule. The vestibule of the church, you know, the outside. Okay. And the other part is the main part of the mouth, the oral cavity proper, they call it. The top border is the hard palate. In the back, it's the soft palate. The floor is mainly the tongue. And again, the cavity is entirely covered by mucosa or mucous membrane. Okay, so starting from the outside, we've got, and yeah, you've got that picture right there. You've got the lips. Everybody knows what the lips are. Fleshy folds surrounding the teeth. Then frenum. Frenum means, everybody talks Spanish, freno, brake. So freno is a brake, but frenum is a fold of mucous membrane or tissue that connects the median or the middle line, connected at the median or middle line. So if you pull your lip back, you've got this frenum attachment right here. Okay, so if you, not everybody has it, but
oh, that little thing.
yeah, it's called the median frenum, and sometimes you'll have it here. Sometimes you'll have one on the premolars, about right here, and on the upper premolars. And what those cause, sometimes over time, causes your gum to pull down, because as your lip is pulling down, it's also pulling down on your gum. And you'll have it on the tongue as well. It's called the lingual frenum. Okay, or you lift your tongue up and you've got that tissue, kind of looks like that, but under the tongue. I think we've got a picture of that. And so sometimes those are cut.
Yeah, so people get tongue rings. Except for me. You can't get a tongue ring. Yeah.
Palatine velum, okay? Palatine velum, the soft palate in a relaxed state that hangs in a curtain-like partition. And you guys have you want to pull out the back diagram. It kind of shows it. But anyway, it's this part right here. It's just like a drape or a curtain that drops the soft palate. And if you look in the mirror and you go you'll see where the hard palate and the soft palate join. And when you go that soft palate goes up. Okay, it raises up. So there's just a little curtain drop right here from the hard palate to the soft palate. And again, these I think are just matching. Okay, glossopalatine. Glosso means tongue, palatine means palate, so runs continuously inferiorly from the palatine velum. Okay, so from the velum runs down. Okay, so this guy right here, glosso, going down to the tongue, to the velum up on top. So this angle right here and this angle right here runs continuously and inferiorly from the palatine velum. The palatine uvula is that little dangling thing right in the middle that you have. Okay, this guy right here. That's the uvula. If you touch that with the suction, people that gag. You want to stay away from the center of the throat. A small fleshy body that is suspended from the glossopalatine arch. Okay, pharyngopalatine arch posterior to the glossopalatine arch. Okay, this is going from the pharynx, pharyngo, to the palate, palatine. So pharyngopalatine arch. And the tonsils, they're called palatine tonsils, although everybody just refers to them as tonsils or adenoids. Okay, these guys are on the side behind in front of the pharyngopalatine and behind the glossopalatine. And you'll see them kind of tucked in there. Sometimes you can't see them really well, but they're tucked in there. And this is the image you guys have. Okay, the tongue is the principal organ of taste and a crucial organ in speech. It also assists in mastication, chewing, or deglutition, swallowing. Okay, the dorsum is the top surface of the tongue. What you can see is the dorsum of the tongue, the upper surface of the tongue. Then you have the median sulcus, which again, median means the middle, sulcus means a crevice or a ditch. Divides the tongue into symmetrical halves. So if you pull out your tongue, or you make a little taco, it forms in folds right at the median sulcus, okay? And then you have the taste buds. Everybody calls them taste buds, but taste buds are actually all over the mouth. But the papilla, filiform, these are thickly distributed over the anterior two-thirds of the dorsum of the tongue, and they're cone-shaped, okay? So when we look at the tongue, the papilliform are these guys, these buds in the front, okay? Up in front here. And again, these are filiform papilla, these guys. Okay, so papilla filiform, so they look like little hairy guys. So anterior two-thirds of the tongue. Papilla fungiform, what are they going to look like? Mushroom, yeah, fungi. Okay, deep red color scattered irregularly throughout the dorsum, mushroom shape. And then way in the back you have papilla valli, which are large in size, varying in number, anyway from 8 to 12. So if you pull your tongue way out and look in the mirror, you'll see these kind of bumps. Okay, and I'll show you pictures right now. And then the taste buds are really scattered all over around these papilla. Okay, so the papilla valli are way in the back and sometimes around the side. Fungiform are in the middle and filiform are in the front. Okay, so front, and then the fungi are here, and then the valli are, again, it looks like a valley because it's a big crevice. And then the median sulcus is right down the middle. Questions on the tongue? Where do we get taste? Substance must be soluble to have taste, so if it doesn't, you probably can't taste it. 4 primary tastes, there's sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. The acid taste, usually anterior midline of the tongue. So you put acid on the anterior midline of the tongue. The sweet and salty on the anterior sides of the tongue. Bitter, posterior, 1/3 of the tongue. Okay, so this is kind of, and it depends on who you read. Sometimes this diagram is a little bit different. But again, bitter foods you're going to taste in the back, sour and salty towards the side.
Is that what you stuck in your mouth when you like stuck in like a sour candy?
You'll feel it way in the back. You put a sour, one of those sour lemon drops or something like that. Those lemon drops or a salita, and you feel that it's way in the back because it's way back. These guys are just kind of squeezing together. Okay, so sweet is in the anterior, sour and salty more towards the middle. And muscles of the tongue, we covered these last session. You have the genioglossus, again, origin, inner surface of the mandible near the symphysis, which is the middle of the chin. Insertion, hyoid bone, lower surface of the tongue. Innervation, you guys don't have to. This is the genioglossus from the symphysis of the mandible, and again to the tongue. Glossus means tongue. So from the genius, this kind of fan muscle. Okay, hyoglossus muscle, origin, body of the hyoid bone. Again, hyoid. And glossus is tongue, so it goes from the hyoid bone to the tongue, pulls down and retracts the tongue. Again, here's the hyoid bone, this little floating bone, and it goes up to the tongue. Styloglossus, from the styloid process of the temporal bone and goes back to the tongue. Okay, so here's the styloid process right here, coming off the temporal bone and running down to the hyoid bone. Again, and those are just the muscles that move the tongue. What's that fossa called?
Depression. actually
the temporal bone?
Glenoid
Yeah. Good.
Right?
Yes, glenoid possum. Salivary glands. Okay, these you guys have to know. Okay, serous gland, they secrete serum, which is a clear liquid. Serous gland. Mucous glands, they secrete mucus, which is a slimy, sticky liquid. And mixed glands secrete both. And then there's some sebaceous glands, which we talked about. Fordyce granules, the last Fordyce granules secrete kind of like a fatty, greasy material. Sebaceous glands, that's another type of gland. But so you have serous gland, mucous glands, mixed glands, and sebaceous glands, which are like a greasy substance. Salivary amylase is an enzyme that's in the saliva, and that's what helps the saliva starts to break down some of the food that you eat, so that you can get most of its or all of its nutrients that you can out. So the digestion really starts when you first put it in your mouth, and the saliva starts to break down that food. Ducts. The duct is where the saliva comes out, and we'll talk about 3 ducts in the mouth that you need to know. So it's from the outside of the oral cavity. The ducts connect the glands to the oral cavity via these little canals. So the main one is the parotid gland. The parotid gland sits right here, right in front and right underneath your ears, right here on your cheeks. It secretes serum. It's bilateral, so one on each side below the ear. Largest salivary gland. Okay, it's the largest salivary gland. And it drains through what's called the Stenson's duct. And it enters into the mouth. And it's right next to your maxillary second molar. So if you put your lip, or I'm sorry, if you put your tongue on your cheek, up on the side, you'll feel a little bump. By that second molar, that's your Stenson duct from your parotid gland. That's what squirts saliva or serum into your mouth.
So do we need just to know number 4?
You need to know it's the largest salivary gland, and it drains via the Stenson's duct. The question probably says bilateral serum secreting gland. You know, the largest. It'll probably say the largest serum secreting gland, bilateral, drains on the Stenson's duct.
Yeah.
So, but I think they're matching. Just learn some key words. Learn the Stenson's duct, parotid gland, Stenson's duct, and everything else is bonus. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like in front of the ear, and the Stenson's duct goes from there into the mouth, right next to the second molar. And that's what you feel when you put your tongue up there, that little bump. And if you get your fingers in there, and sometimes a patient comes in and they've got like tenderness, and you go and you try to squeeze that and milk that duct, and it's plugged. And sometimes you have a parotid gland infection, and so the duct gets plugged up and it's not draining, so you put them on antibiotics, and then see if it starts to drain later on. If not, we refer them out, but you can get parotid gland infection. Submandibular glands, again below the mandible. These are a mixed gland. They're bilateral, so they're on each side beneath the lower jaw, and the key is that they're the size of a walnut. So if you go down here, you'll feel those glands underneath your lower jaw right here. Okay, the duct is called the Wharton's duct and enters the mouth at the anterior base of the tongue on either side of the lingual frenum. That's, again, frenum is that attachment underneath the tongue. So you lift your tongue, and you've got that lingual frenum there, and one on each side of that lingual frenum, there's a duct for the left and a duct for the right, and they're called Wharton's duct. And some patients, when they open their mouth, they go like that, and they squirt you. That's that duct. What do they call it? Gleek.
I don't know.
Yeah, squeeze their duct, and they that little. So it's through the Wharton's duct that they're leaking. Okay, again, the submandibular glands, they're walnut shaped down here underneath. You can feel them down here underneath your tongue back here. And again, the Wharton's duct comes up and right next to the tongue. Actually, this one doesn't show the duct, but the duct would be way up here in the front. So here's the duct. Here's the lingual frenum. Again, this attachment, and right next to the frenum on each side, you'll have the little ports, the little ducts coming out. Sublingual glands, they're the smallest of all of major glands, and there's a few of them. Located beneath the mucous membrane of the floor of the mouth on either side, they secrete mucus, and there's 8 to 20 ducts kind of all spread all over the place. Okay, so there's no one duct, they're just sublingual glands. Okay, again, so the sublingual gland underneath the tongue, and you can kind of see a whole bunch of little ducts going up underneath the tongue. I think this is the image that you guys have. So the parotid, submandibular is a walnut, and then the sublingual has multiple ducts. So know the ducts by name: the Stenson's duct to the parotid, the Wharton's duct to the submandibular, and then the sublingual gland, and it's got multiple ducts. All right, the immune system we'll go by through real quick. I don't think there's too much on the exam on this. But the system plays an important role, again, to protect yourself from any harm, any bugs, bacteria, or virus, or anything like that. We talked about you need a susceptible host, you need a virus or something that's strong enough to do harm. So an antigen is an antibody reactor, a toxic substance such as a virus or bacteria that causes an immune response throughout the production of antibodies. So the antigen is what's going to cause the harm. The antibodies is what your body generates to protect itself. So when you get the hepatitis B vaccine, then your body starts to produce antibodies against it. And it makes this antigen-antibody reaction, which is the binding of antigens and antibodies to form an antibody complex, which then becomes harmless. So you get them to join up, and then the antigen can't cause any harm. There's certain cells that cause these. Again, white blood, white cells, and you've got red cells, and there's a whole bunch of white cells that are called lymphocytes, and these are, and then from lymphocytes, then there's monocytes, and macrophages, and all these have different roles in fighting infections and keeping you healthy. But again, for this we don't really have to go too much into depth. Monocytes are made in the bone marrow. They interact with other cells in the immune system, and they destroy invading bacteria. The macrophages are like the vacuum cleaners. They go, once something is done, they go and destroy it and eat it up. B lymphocytes, known as B cells, they're produced again in the bone marrow, transform into plasma cells. Plasma cells produce and secrete antibodies. Each antibody is specifically coded to match one antigen. Again, this you can read there. T lymphocytes. These cells are small lymphocytes that are produced in the bone marrow, mature into the thymus. They indirectly aid in cellular immune response. And there's T helper sites. All kinds of cells. And again, everything has an important role. But for dental assisting, just know that you've got an immune system that works, and if it's not working, you're going to get sick. If you want to learn more about it, you can read more about it. Again, there's for our test, there's stage 1 virus, and here this is kind of what happens. Stage 1, the virus comes in, the macrophages invade the virus. There's T T helper cells that are activated. The T helper cells multiply, they stimulate multiplication. I remember we had to memorize this cycle. If it's working, you're well, and if it's not working, you're gonna get sick. Okay, so there's nothing for the exam that you need to know about. You could spend a day just on the immune system, so you don't have to worry about that. Unless you want to, you will. But then I gotta put it on the test, and you gotta learn all those cells.
Yeah, we'll take a zero on that.
So let's go into what the lab is. Let me just restart this guy.